Okay, now we should be live. Correct?
Yes, it says live at the top now on StreamYard.
It does. It just isn't saying it on when you go to YouTube. So I don't know, man. Let's hope that this works out. Uh, Let me just go put this tab over here and then this tab over here. I'll get better at going live one of these days, guys. I promise. This is like my second time trying to do this with a guest. And obviously, going with guests is more fun than me just prattling on at the camera. Okay. So it says we're good. Cool. All right, let's just start it. It's being recorded. Worst case scenario, we just record this thing and post it later. So, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Riley, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got out of class, so pretty good day.
He got out of class because he's a first-year PA student. And I guess I'm just going to start from the beginning. What made you decide you wanted to be a physician assistant?
So it's a money question, right? I decided to be a physician assistant because of the care that I personally saw through. So we're a different field. Like we get to have this patient care experience that allows us to see all sides of medicine before we enter as a provider. And I think that was a huge part of my decision. I was going to get patient care experience whether I went whatever way I went in medicine. And I think it made a huge part, and it showed me that how PAs are such patient-focused providers. And I think that was a huge choice for me. And I think that resonated most with my personality and what I wanted to do in medicine.
Patient-focused as opposed to what else? Money-focused, procedure-focused? What do you mean?
I see a lot of I'll put this in the best way possible, like personality loss. I don't ever want that to happen to me. And I wanted to be able to use my skills not only as a provider, but as a top-notch communicator as well. And I think this was the best career that allowed me to do that compared to other careers in medicine.
Mm-hmm. And what was you said there were some positive experiences with physician assistants that made you kind of decide that was the route for you?
Yeah, so I worked so for my patient care experience, I was a patient care tech for a outpatient orthopedic spine procedure center. And so like we were on our own floor at our particular company, and half of our floor was a procedure center and half of our floor was offices. So where they saw all of their patients. And so I worked in the procedure center, but I would go over there and see all the orders given by the PAs and get all the first line, like while the doctors were in their procedures, the PAs were seeing all their patients for the most part. And they also saw patients as well. But I just resonated with that more than particularly being intrigued by the procedures. I really like people a lot. So.
And have you always been that way? You've always been like extroverted, just kind of a person?
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny. I wonder if we all have that in common. So I don't know if you saw Dr. Palferman's interview, but she said PAs are like people, and doctors are kind of a little bit more into the science than the people aspect, and PAs are more into the people aspect. So maybe not across the board, but PAs tend to be just a little bit more social, I guess I would say. We care about the person's experience a little bit more than about just like really narrowing our focus on the science and medical treatment. So that's cool. So you decided you wanted to be a PA because of that. And then how early did you decide this? In high school?
I was a late applicant compared to most. I decided this in my patient care experience. I didn't start my patient care experience until after I graduated undergrad. So I started my patient care experience I graduated in the summer of 2023, and I started my patient care experience right after that.
So what made you decide to pursue the route so late? You kind of like figured out why you wanted to do it late in college? You had an injury, or what happened exactly?
No, actually, a fun fact is like we don't really have PAs where I'm from. So like I didn't know what it was, honestly. I didn't know what a PA was until I moved to a little bit bigger city in my home state, and I actually saw what a PA was. We had one in my whole entire town, and they worked in surgery in our small hospital, so you never even really saw them. So didn't really know what it was. They only like pursued where I was from is doctor's the only thing you can be.
Hmm. So you have this like inkling that I kind of want to practice medicine, but then you have the whole thing where do I really want to commit 12 years to this and be a
Yes.
doctor? And excuse me. And then you find the PA profession and it's like the light at the end of the tunnel or like on the hill or whatever. And you're like, wow, this exists. I can practice medicine and only get like a 2-year master's.
Yes, that was very much my train of thought. And once I moved up here, like even my coworkers said, like, you have the personality of a PA, which I didn't at the time didn't know what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do
so
you
now
have
I'm surrounded by like-minded people, and it's like, holy cow, we all think alike.
how would you describe the mentality of a PA or the personality? Because I can kind of describe it, but I'm curious what you think.
So for my experiences, first off, almost every one of us is, if not extroverted, a people person, a people pleaser for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then also we're hardworking, but we at the end very very hardworking. Like no, you don't see any other profession where you have to put I feel like so much into getting in just to school, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. And you can see the dedication that these people show is hands down. Um, it's just crazy to watch the different experiences and people coming into school. And then I think also you have your hard workers. That's how I explain PAs to me.
Mm-hmm. So people oriented, very hardworking. I would say very type A.
Yes, I was going to say that, but it's like some people don't agree with that, but I think type A when I think about it.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say very type A, and maybe potentially on the negative side, they'd say kind of ADHD a little bit. Like, don't really know, can't really focus on one thing at the same time. We got to focus on a bunch of stuff. We don't really want to commit to something for years and years. We want to be able to switch. It's kind of like a very effective, smart, loose cannon.
Yes, you've
You know,
explained me to a T.
yeah, likewise. Even
Yes,
like 2 seconds ago, I was just back from doing 10 things at the same time, and it's like my day off, right? And it's how we're wired. And like the good thing is that's the only kind of people that can survive in a chaotic environment where like you're at the ER, you're managing like 5 people at the same time. They're all, not in great shape. Some of them could be really critical all at the same time. You got people coming to you at the same time about all of them. Then you got like personality stuff. You have like paperwork stuff, computer glitches all at the same time. Like, and you're managing all of it. It's driving you crazy, but it kind of feels right. Whereas most people would their brain would just shatter trying to do what we do. So thank God for it, but at the same time, it's kind of stressful.
it is. Yes.
It really is. Okay. So we covered why PA. We covered kind of how you got into the profession. Always wanted to do medicine, but didn't want to do the whole 10, 12-year track. Did you consider being a doctor at any other point?
I did. I actually
Okay.
was pre-med in my undergrad degree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had a harsh realization that's not what I wanted to do. Um, and luckily, this field was what I want. I was immediately drawn to it from the second I knew it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like I said, I've always wanted to do medicine, but just that wasn't really an option. PA was not an option. Even though PAs have grown so much here in Arkansas, like that, it's so uncommon to see them in small towns outside of like the metro areas and things like that. So um, once I heard of it, I took it and I ran with it, and I've loved it ever since.
What was the harsh realization that you didn't want to go into, the doctor, MD, DO side of things?
To be honest, it was it's kind of like this whole time you thought you were going to go to med school and you thought you were going to do this, and you've told people that's what you want to do, but especially in Arkansas, you might not have this in other places, but when you tell them you want to go to PA school instead of that route, they're like, oh, you just want to be their assistant, or are you eventually going to go be a doctor, or you're going to be a doctor? And I'm like, no, I'm going to be a PA, and I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be a PA.
Yeah, that's kind of goes into the name change controversy because people who don't know what we do and don't know what we are, they hear assistant, they think medical assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of education to realize that's not what we do at all. Our role is much closer to the physician than like, the medical assistant. even though it's not what we are. So that's another piece of the stigma that I didn't think about in a small town is nobody knows what you do. And then when they hear about what you do, their like level of respect for what you do goes way down until maybe they realize having a PA as a PCP. And it's like, wait a minute, you prescribe all my medications and you found that one thing that nobody's ever found and you like diagnosed it properly. And now I feel better. Like, what is this exactly? Aren't you the doctor? And then they just switch to just calling you doctor. And then it ends, which is also not correct. But I don't know. There's no perfect answer. But that's definitely part of the whole small town thing. So if anyone just joined or just kind of to recap that, Riley is from a very small town in Arkansas. Almost no PAs whatsoever. Nobody knows what it is. So the trouble with getting providers, increasing access to care in those towns is to, first off, like understanding what PAs are, people like Riley going into it, which is already rare. And then also getting in, because when you're trying to do something that nobody that you know has done, how do you get help? Like, how did you figure out how to navigate the process and do all of that just to get in?
So I actually was very lucky. So when I was right before I went to apply, I had a friend at my college who also had just applied the cycle before me and gotten in. So I was able to use them because they also have a similar situation where they didn't know anything. Like that's what we know we wanted to do, but we had no access. Like it was just hard. So I moved away to do my patient care hours, and they ended up doing phlebotomy at our local hospital, but they were able to guide me through the CASPA process and what they did to get in, and it helped me out a lot.
I'm sorry about that. I just ended the TikTok stream because people were saying there's a serious echo, there's audio issues. I don't know exactly what the deal is, but I don't know. We'll have to figure that out later. We're going to stay on YouTube, and that's all we'll do for now. Maybe we'll have to do these things separately or something. I don't know exactly what to do there. But if anybody came from TikTok to here, sorry about that. We're just going to stay with YouTube for now, I guess. So that's what we'll do. Okay. And sorry, I was dealing with that while you were saying all of that. Hope the viewers in the audience heard it. Even though I don't think anyone's doing this live, so we're just recording this at this point. If anybody pops in, cool. Okay, and so can you just restate that very quickly for me, just so I'm caught up?
Oh, so I was got very lucky and used a friend who is 1 year older than me, and they applied and got in the cycle before I did. So I was able to use them as a reference and how to get through these things, even though we weren't doing it perfect. Probably it was a big help to know that somebody got in the way they did it. So I used them, and then I also used my college in Arkansas. We have like one big hospital, which is UAMS, the college I go to. And so they have little satellites in these small towns. Once in my small town, we have a college advisor who is familiar with all the departments at UAMS. So I was able to use them and do mock interviews and things like that. And that also has helped me to prepare.
Oh, that's a great resource. And so for you didn't have one issue that a lot of people do when they kind of realize that they want to be a PA later, is usually people have to fix their GPA. Because most people don't really have like a super competitive GPA because they don't know what they need or what they want to do. And so why would they bust their butt in undergrad as hard as you need to be competitive? You were on the pre-med track, so you were already doing that. And your GPA, I think you said, was 3.9 something?
Yes.
Like pretty dang close to a 4.0, 3.9 plus. Yeah, so it's hard to beat that. So that part's good. How did you get your patient care hours?
I worked as a patient care tech at a company called Ortho Arkansas here, and I worked in a spine procedure center. So I got to learn a lot of they did some mild procedures in-house, and then we also did all the like spinal injections, like steroid injections and things like that as well.
So you were like a medical assistant type role in a spine clinic?
Kind of. I was more of a patient care tech. So I actually worked like with intaking and our patients and things like that as well. Because we were a fully operational procedure center. We didn't see our patients. They were all on the clinic side.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to go into the kind of like ortho surgical side, or what do you want to do?
It's always the question that's hard for me. I love all aspects of medicine, but I do love ortho. I would not be upset going back into it. But I also have a heart for family med, and I also have a heart for cardiology. I've liked those. And I just found recently I like the kidneys, so maybe I like it all. It's going to be determined probably by my rotations.
Yeah, you just described the PA's conundrum. It's like, what do I do? Well, I can do all of it, so it doesn't really matter. I bet you medical students at this stage of training are probably the same way. And then usually it's not even the field; it's just like some very good doctor in one of their rotations gets them to like a certain area of medicine. I think that's usually how it happens.
Yeah,
So, and also,
hoping
like,
that clicks for me.
what's that?
So I'm hoping that clicks for me.
It will, and it's also like at the point where you're looking for jobs, something kind of has to click, you know. So you'll find something, and then you'll find things about it that you love and that you don't love, and then other opportunities will find you just randomly. So that's kind of a good thing. Like for instance, when I was doing primary care internal medicine, I don't remember exactly how I found this urgent care thing, but I just found it, and at that time I was already frustrated with being a PCP, and like there was all this stuff that they like promised to teach you, this whole list of procedures and stuff, and it just sounded exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I jumped on it, and I've been there ever since. uh, and I mean, will I stay, will I go, who knows? But that's kind of the beauty of being a PA. You don't have to, you can always come back to things you already know how to do.
And it raises your worth knowing all that family med knowledge. That's what they always say. You're worth a lot more with the more knowledge you can bring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would even say, like, to someone like Riley or to anyone who's kind of younger in their program and or new grads, is try to do the harder stuff. Like primary care is really, really, really hard because you have to know a little bit about everything. That's hard and it doesn't pay well. But if you have that basis of knowledge, you're very good wherever they put you afterwards. Or ER is kind of the same way. You have to know a lot about a lot of different stuff. So try to do something a little bit more general, because when people specialize as a PA, let's say like OBGYN or let's say dermatology, they're not going anywhere. You know, it's very, very difficult to switch fields after you've specialized, like your first few years in practice. You forget everything that you've learned in school because you don't apply any of it. And then it's like, it's much harder. And then you feel kind of stuck because there is a glass ceiling for PAs. There's only so much, salary. There's only so much responsibility you can have. And so then you get stuck and then people get frustrated. Whereas if you're more of a generalist and you really, really learn a lot, then the world is kind of your oyster. So PA school prepares you for that, but even more than that, like internal medicine, ER, or primary care would prepare you even more to enter any field. So like, for instance, I've been practicing for 3 years now almost, and I've done kind of a little bit more like acute care, emergency type stuff in the urgent care. And then I've managed people long-term care, like all kinds of conditions. And now if you place me in GI, cardiology, ortho, whatever, like I've got a good basis of all those things. And that just makes it way more fun.
Yes, they're always, that's why I was even like looking at like job posts and things like that. They're always wanting someone who's had some kind of no matter what specialty it is, honestly, looking for some kind of generalist that has, because like you said, these doctors specialize in whatever they're doing. I said like GI, ortho, sometimes they may forget when you don't use it. What do I give for this diabetic patient who is also needs to take this medication for their spine, something like that, that, and I think that's where we come in and as generalists, and it's a great thing to have.
And the classic example is like a PA working in ortho notices a mole that, she knows isn't correct. And then, catches a melanoma for the patient that was just there for a knee surgery, nothing else. And then it's just stuff like that. It's the whole like generalist mindset and also the training. So like you get trained in school, but it would be better to get trained even more by actually working a generalist job like primary care. And also for people with loan repayment, I forget what the organization's called, but there's loan repayment programs. You do primary care in like an underserved area, and they repay, I think, $20,000 or $50,000 of loans for every 2 years that you serve, while you're getting tremendous experience. So that's always a good option for people.
Yes, very much so. Especially here, anywhere in Arkansas is rural.
Literally, there are probably every single primary care office there qualifies for that program, probably.
For sure.
They may not have tried, but if you submit the paperwork, you'll probably get it. So you might be getting like whatever job you're getting out there, and plus you'll get that government grant to get your loans repaid, which is good. But the question actually with that is, do you want to return to your kind of small town and practice there, or do you want to stay in like Lexington or something? Right, that's Kentucky. You want to stay like somewhere bigger.
So like our big towns are like Little Rock, and
Little Rock.
Fayetteville.
Mhm.
Eventually, I think I want to go home. I want to get some good experience to be able to provide that to my community first. But I think as of right now, I would like to go home eventually. I'm not saying I will right out of PA school, but hopefully eventually.
That makes sense. I'm
I need
sorry.
to explore the world a little bit. I haven't been much out of Arkansas.
That's the issue is small towns. The young ones never stay. They'll come back after they're like frustrated with life. But everybody wants to go explore the world, especially if you're in a career that gives you enough money to do so, right? And plus you can work anywhere.
Yes.
So I don't blame you. But it would be nice to kind of like have your mentality going back to Arkansas at some point. Because I mean, people out there, not just Arkansas, but like small towns, like they don't get good care. They don't get Riley's because Riley wants to leave, right? And it's tough for those folks.
It really is. And like I said, there's in my town, especially, I think we might have like 4 doctor's offices, which sounds that's not very many for the amount of people we have.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. And we have one little small hospital, and if you really need something to go on, you might want to just try to make the trip to Little Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the hospital is bad, but like it's just not well equipped as it would be in Little Rock.
Yeah. There's a lot of parts in the country that are just like that. Like, so for instance, I practiced in Syracuse for most of my career. That's where I went to school. And Syracuse has pretty good hospitals. And then, near is Rochester, which has some of the best healthcare in the world. And so, like, even 40 minutes north of Syracuse, it's like a different world. It's so rural. The hospitals there are just, I'm not going to say anything that's like bad about them, but they're just not, I would not want to be in that hospital if I was sick. I'll just say that. If there was something drastically wrong, I would not want to be there. And so, like, a lot of people really have very poor care, and even at the worst things, like heart attacks, like anything that could be really bad, they just don't have the best care because it's just not available. So training people from these kinds of places would be a really good thing. Okay, so I think we covered that pretty well. What did you want to primarily say to the audience? Because like at one point you reached out to me, you said, "Hey, I have a really unique perspective." What's like the main thing you would really want people to know?
I just want to be able to share that like this career is out there for whoever wants it, and that you should not be stopped by where you're from, what your background is, because if we're the voice that can get out to those small towns. The internet is one click away. One person seeing our face on here to get them excited about this career. One person, and I think that's the biggest thing. I just want to spread awareness for this career that it's here, because I wish I'd have known that earlier.
Yeah. So if anybody out there from a small town, we're going to do like #rural, #small town. I don't know what else you would do to like get those folks' attention. I know they're on YouTube. I know they're watching videos. I don't know if they're just like watching Buddy Brown and nobody else, but they're watching somebody.
Yes, they are. For
sure. What's that?
I said they are for sure.
Oh, Buddy Brown?
If they have Wi-Fi.
That's true.
I'm serious. My hometown, like my house just got Wi-Fi like 3 months ago.
That's insane.
Yeah, like for real, my parents just canceled their like DirecTV membership because they were just able to get Wi-Fi at our house.
That's insane.
Yes.
Like to somebody who like grew up suburban and is now in a pretty big city, that's so nuts. But I'm sure they have cell phones, that at least have like 4G, 5G or whatever.
We do have 5G.
Yeah.
We do. But I mean, all we used was cell phones, like as for primary source of internet until my house till 3 months ago.
Right. But the point is, I know you guys are on YouTube, all you small towners. I know you're out there. I know you're watching. So if one of them happens to see this video, Riley wants to say that you can totally have an absolutely awesome career where you get to provide medicine at a very high level. You get to have a very well-paying, very satisfying career without going to medical school for freaking 10, 15 years. It is possible. So we just want to get the awareness out there.
Yes, for sure.
Right? Is that the main thing you wanted to say there?
Yes, for sure. That's it.
All right. And so for my people that watch this channel, because usually it's people trying to get help with getting in, I don't know if your GPA is necessarily going to be helpful for them to know because you had like close to a 4.0. And then how many hours did you apply with?
So I actually was very low. Had very low amount of hours when I applied. For my school, you had to have 500, and I applied
Wow.
with like 556. And then by the time I went to school, I almost had like 2,000. But when I applied, I had very low patient care hours.
Which is understandable because you just got out of school, right?
Yes.
So they will understand that. And then they see your GPA and they go, okay, at least he won't fail. Now, do we like him enough to like, put him through the program? So you got lucky there, but I mean, you were obviously an outstanding candidate because you're an outstanding student. What else did you do to kind of bolster your application besides just the super high GPA?
So I participated in 2 internships that were very, very useful for me. I did a rural practice medicine internship. So you get to go shadow in these rural areas with providers in those areas. And it also gave me almost like it was like 500 shadowing hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I also got Little Rock is still considered pretty rural, even though it's one of our bigger cities. So I got to shadow some like CV surgeons here and some ortho surgeons as well. So I got a lot of experience with surgeons and like with doctors and PAs during that time. So I think that was also a big thing that helped me set me apart with my shadowing hours. But also another huge thing is I did a rural practice internship. So it wasn't particularly medicine based, it's more public health based. And so we would go into these communities that had really bad health care, really bad like obesity rates and things like that. And we would go in and educate them on different health aspects and things like that to try to increase their health literacy within their community.
That is so tough nowadays.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Those communities are hard to reach, especially you have to try to get them where you have a large community gathering and things like that. And like, it was hard because we went back to back to back because like in small towns, they do like festivals and like farmers markets and things like
Right.
that. It's just like movies, guys, like small towns. So you have to catch them at those events, doing booths there, trying to do seminars at like their Kiwanis, Lions Club, Rotary clubs to try to spread that awareness.
Awareness of what exactly?
Just awareness that like so the main thing that you see in those small communities is like the health literacy is low
Mm-hmm.
for majority of those communities, and as well as access to healthcare. So you try to like expand the knowledge for those individuals in that community as well, like because you see your smokers in those communities, your obesity rates high in those communities. You see high. There's a lot of patients with diabetes there, things like that. So they don't know how to properly manage those things. So we would provide education on like, hey, this is the risk if you keep smoking for this long. Hey, this is the risk if you keep eating like the way you are, or this is the risk for diabetes and things like that. And I think that was a huge help to kind of bridge that gap. Even though we can't reach everybody, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, even in the suburbs, like the clinic that I'm at now is very suburban, pretty nice part of town, right next to a big mall, all that kind of stuff. We still have people come in going like, okay, I'm 50. I've been having weird headaches. I need you to figure out what's wrong with me. And I have to have the conversation that says, sir, this is an urgent care. And they don't really get it. They're like, oh, you're medical. You should be able to figure out what's wrong with me. And I'm like, have you had routine testing? Is there anything going on with your blood work? What does your primary care think? Have they ordered anything? He's like, oh, I haven't seen a primary since I was 20. And it's like, bro, this is not the place,
Mhm.
and they don't know that because they just think, oh, I am feeling bad. Here is medicine. Like they think doctor, even though I'm not a doctor, right? Like the health literacy, people just not understanding routine screening. This is bad. This is good. Repetitive symptoms that keep coming and going or that are just not right. You're not feeling right. Very different than you usually are. You got to get checked out. Don't ignore things. And, people just don't know that. It's a very like old world way of thinking back before like medical care screening treatments were even available. It's just like, okay, get over it. And then if you don't get over it, then, that's God's will. I may as well, go. And like, okay, maybe back then, but not anymore. Now we can detect colon cancer years before it becomes a problem. We can detect all kinds of stuff years before it becomes a problem. We know that drinking 5 Pepsis a day is bad. But people don't know that. People literally don't know that.
No, you would be shocked to see like the actual like that they don't know. Oh, drinking, like you said, 5 sodas a day is bad. They really don't understand that. And like I never really had that issue. It's like my parents are very like good with those kind of things. But like if your parents are not putting you to that, there's just you don't know, and
Mhm.
it's literally like, oh, they're still in the mind of like smoking is not bad for you in some town parts, like
Right?
that is
Like,
that's a thing, and I'm like, that's not
yeah.
true.
Even though their uncle probably went in a really bad way from lung cancer, but they're still just like, oh, that just happens. And in case anybody wants to be nitpicky, this is not Pepsi. I was just saying Pepsi's bad for you. This ain't Pepsi. This is beer. So you guys leave me alone. Uh, just before I started this live stream, I was at Trader Joe's. And do you watch Game of Thrones? Did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
I do. I love Game of Thrones.
Remember when Tyrion's the short guy, right?
I think so. Yes.
Or was it
To
Tywin?
minister.
Tywin his dad. Yeah, Tyrion. When Tyrion went into like some place, it was the first episode, and they were like, "What do you want to eat?" He's like, "Bacon, burnt black, and a dark beer to wash it down." So I got that just was ringing in my head, so I got bacon and dark beer.
Bacon and dark beer.
Never actually done that in response to that video, but anyway, okay.
Did you get the
I don't always eat
bacon?
bacon and beer. Say that again.
Did you get it's like the black
Yeah.
pepper bacon from Trader Joe's?
Yep.
It's so good.
Like the black, whatever spices are on it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, was it good? I actually burnt my first 3 pieces, so I had to make it all over again. Burn it too much. Anyway, so yeah, I'm hating on soda, but this ain't soda. This is beer, so it's healthy. That is not medical advice. The point is moderation. Like you see those people on like 600-pound life, and they say, "Well, my mom told me that if you drink a Diet Pepsi, it cancels out the sugar that you ate. So I have 3 donuts, and for each 3 donuts, I have a Diet Pepsi, and then I have 12 Diet Pepsis a day." And then their microbiome is just like, what is happening?
Yes.
And it's all just bad. But people don't know that. They just think, okay, this is tasty. I feel thirsty. I'm going to drink it. The end. And they don't have someone like Riley going like, no, you're going to get diabetes. Susan, stop it. But it's just reaching more people, routine testing, stuff that like, okay, it feels like a 2 out of 10. Let's get it checked out before it's a 9 out of 10. That kind of stuff, just expanding access to care.
Yes, and we are one of the worst states on all the list for obesity, things like that. We're ranked in the bottom 5 in every category. So that's why I like to promote here to try to change that, because it is a beautiful state and it's a beautiful place. And I just feel like if you try to make the people healthier too, it'll make it even better.
You got your work cut out for you.
For sure.
But I actually, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that was a really good place to end things, and just kind of end the stream on YouTube, and then try again on TikTok and just cover all those topics again for another 20 minutes. What do you think about that?
That'd be perfect.
We can try to like remember what we talked about, and then just basically, because the people on TikTok were like, dude, there's terrible echo. We can't hear anything. So I just closed it.
That works great.
Okay. So in that case, let's just recap this real quick. So Riley, always liked medicine, always wanted to practice medicine, decided to be on the pre-med track, but then was like, I don't want to spend that much time in school. There has to be another way. Found the PA profession. Boom. Now he's there. He's a first-year student, 3.9 GPA, 500 hours that he applied with. So those of y'all with like no hours, if you're 21, 22, you're just out of college, you don't have any hours, still possible. This is an example right here, or right there. There he is. Right there. Right. So certainly possible. If that's what you want to do, that's what you can do. If you're from a small town, if you're from the inner city, if you're not someone who usually like gets into these programs, absolutely possible. We need more of you in this profession for the exact reasons that we just described. Obesity, smoking, poor health literacy, those are not just rural issues, those are urban issues as well. So yeah, please get into this profession if you even are a little bit interested in it.
Yes.
Any concluding thoughts there for YouTube before we switch over to TikTok?
I will say that you did mention the age. Don't be discouraged. I'm very, very young. very, very young compared to my class. Don't be discouraged.
That's another good point. Let's keep a mental checklist of all these things because we're going to cover all these topics on TikTok. But yeah, so I don't know if you saw the mock interview I posted yesterday on TikTok with Grace.
I haven't looked at it yet.
So she's like 21, maybe 22. Her, dad's a doctor. She's kind of like been not streamlined into the PA profession, but she knew what she needed to do early on, and she did the work. She got a great GPA. She got experience. She did what she had to do, and now she's going to be like graduating PA school at like 24, 25,
That's
right? And she's going to be super young. And how do you, when you're that young, how do you relate to patients? How do they respect you? It's a position I wasn't in because I was a bald 32-year-old practicing medicine for the first time. But a younger looking person, that's going to be interesting.
Yes, I will be freshly 24 when I graduate, like just turned 24.
Can you imagine, like you're some crusty 63-year-old person, you got all these health issues, and then they're like, "Oh, you have a new provider. Sweet. He's 24. He looks like he's 12."
Yes.
What? Like they're going to be shocked, but then hopefully you'll be able to win them over.
I'm hoping that that's big reason I got into the field. I'm hoping my personality wins them over. Southern hospitality.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, they'll see that you're competent. They'll see that you'll educate people. You'll just have to be a little bit more patient with them than you might be with other people. And it's just going to take some time. But that's one thing that I don't really have a lot of advice because I was never a younger medical provider. I was always like already in my 30s. But I'd really love if somebody's watching this right now, or you're going to watch it in like days or weeks from now, shoot me an email if that was your situation. If you were like 21, 22, probably more like 24, 25 when you graduated PA school and you were a provider, how did you deal with people saying, "Oh, you're too young, you must not know anything," or "You're too young, I can't respect you," or just people giving you crap because you're so young? You felt like they were treating you differently than somebody who's a little older. Tell me how you dealt with that, because I got a million examples of how I had the opposite of that. Like I am a little older. I have had health issues. I've like been in the Navy. I've been around the world. Like I've got experience as I was an adult starting my practice. So it's like, I can't imagine doing that as somebody in their early 20s. So yeah, if anybody's got any advice on that, please shoot it my way, and we'll record a video like this, or I'll just put it out there to the world. But anyway, so we're gonna end this. Go ahead.
I would love that advice because that's what it's nerve wracking. Like we were talking about the other day, and this last thing I said before we head over there is, I will still you have to get off your parents' insurance at 26.
At 26.
Some of my PA friends are like, "Yeah, I'm having to find insurance," and I'm like, I'm good. I think I got 2 more years after I graduate.
Oh, I can't imagine. Like I literally can't imagine being that age anymore. But yeah, literally, we'll repeat that again. If anybody did start practicing as a PA or a nurse practitioner in their like early to mid 20s, please let me know. I'm very curious about this, and Riley is too. Please let him know in the next 2 years before he starts practicing.
For sure.
That would be very, very good advice. I would love to talk to somebody who was in that situation, and I'm sure I could probably find someone. I did. I wanted her. So when I talked to Grace the first time on video, I wanted her to like pop in and give her some advice, but then that person kind of canceled because not everybody wants to be on YouTube, and I get it. So speaking of not being on YouTube, goodbye YouTube. We're ending the stream, and we're gonna pop onto TikTok and do this all over again. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, Riley. I'll see you on TikTok in like a minute.
Sounds good. All right.
Bye.